Nate, you're coming to us from Recovering from Religion, recoveringfromreligion.org. I'm sure we'll be saying those words in that order a lot tonight. But why don't you start us off by just telling us a little bit about the organization and what sorts of services y'all offer?
Sure. So Recovering from Religion is a group started by Dr. Daryl Ray in a Waffle House, I think.
As all good things are.
Exactly. And what we do is we help people in their journey away from religious faith. So anybody on the spectrum of doubt, we have a helpline, which is how most people come to us. You can call in, you can chat in at recoveringfromreligion.org. We have a massive library of resources for folks who come in. We have online meetups where the community just gets together. You could talk to other people on the spectrum of doubt in the same position you are. We used to have in real life meetups, but those are kind of on hold because of the plague.
For sure.
We also have weekly RfRX sessions where folks come on, usually people who are experts in their field come on and make a presentation for the community. So those are always really interesting. And finally, we have our online community. So it's like a chat app. It's kind of like Discord. It's all online. You can use it on your phone or your computer. And there's well over 1,000 members in there. And it's a great group where you can come and connect based on any number of topics related to recovering from religious faith.
That is way more than I knew about. That's so cool.
Yeah, and it's a variety of folks. You know, I know you kind of mentioned this, but I think it's really important to point out who these services are for. I mean, believers, non-believers, questioners, diehard atheists. I mean, who's making up this community, and what does it look like in that way?
I would say that probably 80% of the members in there are somewhere in their journey. So, you know, we have maybe 20% are atheists already and have stuck around to be a part of the community and help others. And then there's the vast majority of our members are people who are anywhere from, you know, I read the Bible and it seemed fishy to me, to, you know, I've left my Mormon church and I don't believe in it anymore. And now I'm just looking for coping skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, tell us about the forums themselves, because that's where you're coming to us from, right? Like you work or moderate as a volunteer in that space?
I do, yes. I moderate the LGBTQ and sexuality channels, but there are so many channels. We've got Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Christians, ex-Jew. We've got channels for ex-clergy. We've got a channel for empowered women. It's just women, no men allowed. Dealing with family. We've got channels for practicing having difficult conversations where you can sort of role play. There's really something for everyone. There's multiple things for everyone who's anywhere on the spectrum of doubt.
Yeah. What kinds of conversations are going on here? I mean, I feel like there are only so many ways to say I don't believe in God, but I know from experience there's a lot more here than that.
There is really only one way to say that I don't believe in God. But again, a lot of these people aren't really sure yet.
Sure.
And even those that have and are somewhere along that journey, it brings up a myriad of other issues, right? Because you've still got your religious family. You've still got to deal with the fallout of changing your mind, and the fact that most people around you probably will not have done so. Right? Like we've got, I remember we had an ex-clergyman who was, he didn't know how to deal with his parishioners who approached him in Walmart. What do you tell those people, right?
Yeah.
It's really tough, and different faiths have different belief systems, which are silly for all sorts of kinds of reasons, which is why we've sort of divvied it up into Mormons, JWs, Christians, Catholics. But I think the most traffic that we see would be in the families, right? So dealing with family, the sexuality channels, because obviously religion has an insidious grip over our sexuality.
Sure.
And I may be a little biased, but I think we get a lot of traffic in the LGBTQ plus channel.
As
Yeah,
a
I mean
moderator,
that tracks, right?
As
Yeah, I'm
a
sorry. Go
moderator,
right ahead.
do you get involved in the conversations much, or are you just sort of like in the background?
All the time. I can't help myself. Our community is really good. Like, a lot of the other members will jump on it to share their stories. But a lot of the moderators, it's not just me. It really is a back and forth. It's a conversation. None of the RfR guys come across like the hand of God. We're just another person that's just involved with the conversation. Dr. Ray drops his nuggets of wisdom. Always, right? Like, it really is a back and forth conversation where everybody gets involved. It's very, very friendly. There's very little of that sort of, what you might think a moderator might do on the internet.
Yeah.
There's not so much of that. It really is just a really helpful, supportive space.
That's really interesting to know. I just from the ACA fan groups and some of these our Discord server and some of these other places on the internet, I'm definitely familiar with the Christian trolls coming in and trying to push one particular worldview that isn't sitting. But I'm also pretty familiar with the atheists that are just looking to dunk on people and stir up a lot of drama in that way. How have y'all managed to put together such a comforting community, if I can use that word?
Sure. Well, when we get the initial call or the initial chat on the helpline, the person, the agent who is taking that is in the process of subtly vetting that person as they talk to them. So as they ask them questions, get good answers, practice some street epistemology or throw out some Socratic method at them, what they're listening for is to find out if this person is an honest interlocutor, right? They're vetting that person in the process of helping them. So not everybody gets an invite to the community. We do it if we think there would be a benefit to that individual. And since we have such amazing people in our group, it's very rare that we get a troll or a snooty atheist that just wants to lord his intellect over everybody else. Mm-hmm. we don't get too many of those.
Very similar to our wonderful call screeners then.
Very similar. Indeed.
Well, I know that it's not y'all's job to like come up with answers for everybody, but I heard your story about a former preacher not knowing how to have those conversations, and part of my heart broke a little bit. Like I wouldn't know what to say to somebody like that. I have to wonder about the emotional toll and just what it's like moderating these sorts of conversations.
It can be pretty tough. A lot of times there is no cure, right? Like there is no fast fix to your religious father who won't talk to you, right? Or there's no fast fix for the gay kid who's been kicked out because of something that they can't control, right? So what we try to do is obviously provide a community, and we try to share coping skills, right? And that's what a lot of it comes down to, because we can't wave a magic wand and make the rest of the world make sense. Well, we can try to help it make sense for you and teach you ways that you can deal with it, and we can teach you ways to have difficult conversations, but it's never going to be easy. I mean, anybody who's ever tuned into an ACA show knows that conversations with theists are not easy.
Mm-hmm.
We actually kind of have it. We have it a little bit easier than, say, somebody on like Talk Heathen or the Atheist Experience, because the people that we get, by and large, they want to be helped, right? They want to have an honest conversation. They're already on their journey. Like I said, whether they just have that nagging little feeling in the back of their head that something's not quite right, or whether they've just read The God Delusion and are well on their way, right? We have an advantage in that people are actually interested in being helped, I think.
Yeah, and I imagine that, that kind of work can be really fulfilling even when it's challenging. And I know that the organization does a great job of looking at, volunteer burnout and being just mindful of everything there. But even without the trolls, I have to imagine that can be really draining. What are some of those challenges, some of those like other frustrations or pieces that make this difficult work?
Again, it's the fact that you can't necessarily fix everything, and we are somewhat limited in our options, and there is some burnout in that we see a lot of the same things again and again and again, right? It's fear of hell, it's religious family, and it's sexual repression. Right. Those are the big three. It's not always, but Dr. Ray can correct me, but I would say that's probably 3/4 of the calls we get is something along those lines. So it can get repetitive, but what doesn't get repetitive is the way that people react and the way that people change, in the way that you can see that you've helped them, right? That never gets old.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with the stress involved and just the raw emotion that comes through there?
Well, I'm not an incredibly emotional man, but I have got a bit misty a couple of times, and I kind of like that, right? Because I don't. It's hard to get that kind of a reaction out of me, not because I'm trying to put it down, but it's I kind of enjoy it when I get that sort of emotional response. And again, we have so many great people in the community that are RfR volunteers that we can tag off. And we'll see that happen, right? Where someone will tag off and be like, I need to take a break. I need to step away. Can somebody please help this person? And it's like hands start shooting up. So the community is really great and supportive, but the volunteers really, really support each other and jump in when someone needs a break.
Yeah, and the stories just sound very, very human. I mean, it's lovely to hear you describe it the way that you are. So, I don't know if this is too much of a softball question, but I'm sincerely curious why you do this kind of work. What makes these kinds of conversations so powerful?
I mean, we're trying to help people, which is makes you feel good. But one of the things for me that I find particularly satisfying is when somebody comes in, right, with, say, internalized homophobia, right, and they feel that shame, or someone comes in who is non-binary but has never heard the term and it's like, well, one day I feel like masculine. I feel like wearing jeans and flannel, and the next day I feel like partially a woman, and I don't know. And when you have the chance to really drill home that, hey, you don't have to make a choice. Like you can wear panties and cargo pants, you can wear a boxers underneath a skirt, and you can help them to find themselves. And then some people kind of get their fix and then off they go, right? But some of those people, they stick around, and then you get to see them as community members when the next person comes in, right? They're using the stuff that you sort of helped them with, and then they're helping somebody else with it as a peer, right? So that is just, I mean, it doesn't get better than that. And you kind of know that some of that is going to come across in their real life, right? So you've given, like, it's like throwing a pebble into the ocean, you know, where we're kind of changing the world here, right? We're really making an impact. We might not always see it, but it makes a huge impact in people's lives. It's totally worth it.
Yeah, no
Sounds
question.
good.
They're just incredible statistics and everything else.